Hi, Panther fans. We made it. We did it. We're here. The round two series preview with Stu and Randy Moller. I was beginning to wonder if I would ever utter those words. I, so before we get into the round two part, now we've got questions for Randy, and Randy, I really appreciate you taking the time to join us.
No problem.
Genuinely. Absolutely. I just want to touch that this is my question dovetailed and wrapped around a few questions from the listeners. The round one success, the finality of we finally did it, that huge, massive sigh of relief. Normally, it's hard to say how that's going to affect the team because you don't really want to exhale that much when you still got to go play round two. So I guess the question is, what do you think these guys have learned now from the lessons, like versus like when you saw, I don't know if you saw the end of the Tampa Bay series with Toronto, and if you saw the handshake line, Austin Matthews, if there was ever a guy who was going to just cry right there on the ice, that poor kid, you could just see it. So how do you have that giant exhale of we finally did it while at the same time remaining focused on that was just the start of things?
Well, I think two things. Number one is, there's a big relief that the Panthers finally broke through and won that opening round, which a lot of people, including myself, say it's most of the time it is the hardest series to win. And as far as exhale, I think there was a little bit of exhale. But as soon as Tampa won in overtime to beat the Toronto Maple Leafs, that exhale stopped very quickly. The Panthers, they know now that they're the back-to-back defending champions, and they're going to be ready to go. I don't think there's going to be a letdown at all. I was at practice today, and the pace and the spirit and the execution was all top notch, and right. These guys know that they got to bring their A game. The only thing that could be worse if the Panthers had lost in the first round is look what Tampa did to Toronto. What Toronto's done. What was that, 5 consecutive years that Toronto has lost in Game 7? Oh, Lord, it's just imagine that. But you know what? I'm most, as I said, and I tweeted out, I'm most happy for the fans, guys, long suffering, but very passionate and very supportive fans that round was for you guys. That's for the fans. That one's for the fans. Now we'll turn the page quickly and get on the round two.
Yep. Stu, how we doing, buddy?
Doing great. I mean, love when Randy comes and joins us. Appreciate him taking his time. I don't know when you called me that night. I don't know whether you were calling me to congratulate me.
I was on the phone and trying to answer different calls after the game or whatever, and I'm sure I dialed you by mistake, Stu.
Here I was thinking,
he's trying to name drop, but you just blew it on him.
26 years you've been waiting for us to win the opening round.
Yeah. What happens is when I'm originally from Alberta, and that's 2 hours away, and you've got family that are still trying to call you, even though it's 10:30, 11 o'clock there. They don't realize a lot of times that it's 1 o'clock our time here in the East. So. But it was tough to sleep. But everybody was so excited and so pumped up after that Game 6 win in Washington, and the reading the tweets and emails and text messages and phone calls. I'm sure everybody was doing it, and it was tough to come down. Really was tough to come down. Didn't get a whole lot of sleep that night, and then had to fly fairly early the next morning, so I'm still trying to recuperate from that as well, but we'll be ready to go. And I'm happy. I think you guys realize that although Bally Sports, we can't broadcast the games, we'll be all set up starting tomorrow, Thursday, all the games. We're going to have an hour post-game show on Bally's. Jessica Blaylock and myself, will be in studio. Goldie will be on site to do the interviews post game. And so it's going to be loaded, and it will be all about the Panthers. We'll break down all the goals. We'll break down the plays. We'll get all the comments, all the audio and that from the interviews, post game, win or lose. And that, so the Panther fans can enjoy that starting tomorrow night.
Yeah, I was actually it was something I was gonna bring up as a question, because I know George wrote the article this morning about the whole TNT and the Miami Heat and the whole scheduling. I didn't realize are you guys out completely now for the rest of the playoffs?
Yeah, we're done. Yeah, this is, and every team's like that.
I see.
There's no local broadcasts now, and
Right.
Same thing with the NBA.
Right. That's a shame.
Yeah, but that's, now it takes on a real national stage. And although, you're disappointed, I'd love to call the games and be involved. But
well, you probably can't legally, but technically you and Steve could pull like what the Mannings did and get your own YouTube channel and just sit there at home and we're just calling it games. They're just
well, and the other thing too is, which is fine. Which is fine. It's just a reality in that I've gone live to my last Panther game this year. I'm going to be in the studio. I'll be in the studio, home and away. So I won't even be at the FLA Live Arena tomorrow or Thursday. So
wow, that's
but I'm excited. Jessica and I and Goldie will have all the coverage and that post game. For those that probably remember, the last 2 years, Tampa did the same thing. Throughout the playoffs, they had a really good post game show to break down and from the Lightning perspective, and that did a really good job with that. And we're going to do the same. So this is the first time we'll be able to do it.
Yeah. Good point. So, all right. So let's move on to this series against Tampa. I am not going to lie. I was rooting for Toronto all the way for a myriad of reasons. Number one, the Toronto fans let them win already. You kidding me? 5-7. So there was that angle. But excuse me. Sorry. So the other reason, and this is my question, and this might be a stupid question, but one of the bigger reasons I was preferring not to play Tampa was just the beat the crap out of each other physical style. Do you think now, I don't know what point situation is Braden Point. I know Kucherov wasn't 100%, and I know Ekblad and Sherratt obviously gutted it out beyond belief the other night. Do you think, since both teams are kind of limping in a little bit and it's round 2, do you think they won't be headhunting each other as much and we might just see more pure hockey, or do you think it won't matter?
It's hard. I was thinking about it today. I mean, that series last year between Panthers and the Lightning, where it was just so intense, and that I expect the intensity to be there. It's always physical in the playoffs. But I think the Panthers realize, and actually Andrew Burnett was asked about it after practice today about the physicality and maybe walking that fine line, not taking bad penalties and that. I think the Panthers realize that Tampa Bay, whether they have Braden Point in the lineup tomorrow or not, they have a lethal power play, and you can't be sitting in the penalty box and allowing them to have 5 or 6 power plays. That's just going to cause all kinds of issues and puts too much pressure and that on the team. So I think it will be intense. It'll be physical, but I'm hoping the Panthers, they walk that line and be physical, intense, but without taking penalties, at least needless penalties. There's always good penalties that you have to take.
Yeah,
but not those
retaliatory.
The retaliation ones. Let's try and park that. But the Panthers, they play with a lot of motion, and they play. They're very intense the way they play, and sometimes that does. You take a look at Hornquist and the way he plays, Weegar, the way he plays every shift. Giroux, same thing. You want those players to play like it's their last shift of their life, but there is that line that you just don't want to cross.
Right. It's those scrums last year, the retaliatory. I mean, this is where the refs have to step up, and they got to call, glove fist to the face last year. How many times did Tampa get away with that with no call, which led to more retaliatory stuff?
Yeah, well, that's the thing, Stu, is the Panthers not going to back down.
No, of course
if,
not.
If they're going to get punched in the nose, they're going to punch somebody back in the nose. And they're not going to. Teams have tried to intimidate the Panthers over the last 2 years, especially, and it just hasn't worked. And that, but it's going to be interesting to see how at least the first 2 games of this series really develop. How what kind of tone and what kind of pace is it going to be? Both teams loaded with talent. It's going to be a lot of fun.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, so go ahead. You got a question?
No, I mean, listen, if we're going to win the cup, we need to go through the champs and take the champs down.
Yeah.
Then it's legit. Then it's not like we back there. And I mean, we won the President's Cup. We earned our spot.
Right.
And now we've earned the champs. This is, I think the league wanted this replay. I mean, we gave Tampa their best series last year, so we didn't have Ekblad. So now we got Ekblad.
Right, and a lot more. So
and Bob's playing, Bob hockey. So it's time that we dethrone the champs.
Right. So the elephant in the room. This is a two-parter: the power play, and then also Kucherov with the power play. How come he's the only one? Does nobody try to emulate? The man can fake the shot and make those passes like I've not seen anybody else be able to do that. He consistently will fake the shot and put that little pump pass to point in the middle. I saw him against the Leafs. He faked the pass and did a cross side, or he faked the shot, did a cross ice pass. I just would love to see somebody on the Panthers do that because it's so effective. Now, the Panthers power play. If any of us would have sat here and said, "Yeah, we're gonna go for 18," then we're still win around. Anybody predicting that probably get laughed out of the building. Yet here we are. It didn't look so bad towards the end. I mean, you don't go 0-18 without having a little bit of snake bit bad luck.
Yeah.
To me, the biggest thing is, and I said this in the beginning when Ekblad came back, is like we've got to find a way to get those shots through, because a lot of our goals were Reinhart and Hornquist and guys in close, and it just seemed like Washington really, really focused on blocking a lot of Ekblad shots, especially. So, talk a little bit about the Kucherov thing, if you think that's just a special thing that nobody else can pull off, and then what do you think the Panthers need to do? What can we do? Because we're not going to win this one going 0-18.
Yeah, no, I agree with you. First of all, Kucherov, he's one of the most talented players in the world, and he's got not just that move where he fakes a shot and then slides it to another open man, and the way that they make the plays. But you look at it, even Pittsburgh the other night, and I was watching the Edmonton Oilers as well when they get on. Here's what I said on our broadcast. If the Panthers are successful in the power play, they have to move the puck quick. Number one, move the puck quick. Number two is you have to have it in your mind before you even get the puck, what you're going to do with it. Because once you hesitate for a half a second, that allows the penalty killers to even move 6 inches in order to get in the shooting lane or a passing lane. So how you get around that, and the Panthers know, and they were practicing it again today, is move the puck quickly. What you're trying to do in an over macro of a power play penalty killing is penalty killers, the easiest job of a penalty killer is just to stand still in the box and protect, that low slot area.
Right.
And that. So it's the job of the power play guys to get them to move out of that box, get them to break the box and pull them out of position. And once you pull them out of position, let me go back to my original comment. That's when you got to move the puck quickly, and either you're going to get the shot with 2 players coming in, or the give and go down low, walk the line across, and that. The Panthers have all kinds of talent to be able to accomplish that. They you don't end up 6th overall in the power play in the NHL by not having talent or success.
Right.
They have it, and they've proven they can have a good power play, but they have to move the puck quickly, not be predictable, and you have to try and get those shooting and passing lanes open one way or another.
Right.
And
Yeah, the thing that Stu and I have talked about with that is that it sounds illogical, but hear me out here. I the way I frame this is not exactly it, but in a sense, Claude Giroux ruined the power play. And the reason why I say it that way is because we did not have a good power play. We were in the bottom third of the league. And all of a sudden we took off like a madness. Everything was great. And that's where we got to. We were top 10. Then at the same time, Ekblad got hurt and Giroux showed up. So they had to change everything. And since Ekblad's come back, they haven't gone back to what was working before that happened. They've changed it up a little bit. They're a little bit more spread out, and they haven't really gone back to the exact same setup. But that doesn't include Giroux. So that's kind of the rub there.
I'm looking back, and of course, with our capabilities of looking at video and the power play, especially in that one game, I broke it down and what they need to do and improve a little bit more. And that, I don't think I've ever seen a team, or a Panther team for that matter, have such bad luck where, puck jumping over sticks and blocked at the last second and that. So in saying that, I'm true believer that once the Panthers do get a power play goal, I think that the floodgates are going to open up. They just got to get that one goal to feel good about themselves.
Right.
And that they had some real tough luck in that. But if they move the puck quicker and more decisive and not be predictable what they're going to do with the puck, whether it's a pass or a shot, do not give up those shots. If you've got a good look and you're in a good shooting position and you try and force a pass through that low box that's got to go through sticks and legs and skates and everything else, take the shot. The Panthers have great shooters on the power play. They can all shoot the puck over 100 miles an hour. Let's leave it at that. Let's just execute.
Gotcha.
And don't get frustrated.
Right.
Don't get frustrated if it doesn't work. Try something different. And, maybe a little down low play. Reinhardt is so good at that, and Giroux and Huberdeau down on the goal line, but they know what they're up against. They really do. And I really applaud them for not getting down and losing their confidence on the power play. I think their confidence was still high. It just didn't happen in that series against Washington.
Right. Now, I guess the biggest thing, and we had several questions, so this is all wrapped up, was obviously the goaltending for both teams. So we obviously know what Vasilevsky can do, and that's been part of the reason why I haven't wanted to play Tampa, because Toronto had him on the ropes, and then I don't know if you saw the Game 6 overtime.
Yeah,
there was just no business whatsoever. At least 5 or 6 of those saves.
Yeah, Vasilevsky just said, no, this ain't happening on my watch.
Right.
I know.
Right.
He's amazing. And that, what can you say? I've said it before. Vasilevsky is the best goaltender in the world until he proves to us that he's not the best goaltender in the world. Okay. Right. The Panthers have had success this year against Vasilevsky. A couple of the games they did very well against him, and that. But Bobrovsky, same thing. I think Bobrovsky was just as good as Vasilevsky in that first round. Some of the saves that Bob made at critical times in the game, whether the Panthers were leading or behind, especially when they were behind, making those key saves. So I expect the same thing, guys, that it's going to be a great goaltending match and that, but we'll talk about it when it's over. The team that comes out on top probably will have the best goaltender.
Right. Yeah. And for that point, like I've been pounding this, the timing and the manner in which the goals against are scored is everything. And Stuart brought this up in the last video, and I found it was actually 2 shots in the last minute of Game 6 there after Washington tied the game, that Ovechkin had 2 good looks.
Yeah, right at the one at the buzzer.
Yeah, and there were both saves that that, and talk, I want to like to get your opinion on this, because there was a lot of between the fans, and I had a take about Bobrovsky and goals and goalies in general. And for me, it's not about he should have had the goal, or that's a save he needs to make, or one he wants to back. But for me, I'm like, my theory is that, yeah, okay, goalie's going to give up a goal here, a goal there, etc. But it's the difference between the team's going to win a cup or not is a breakaway, a quick shot, a defensive breakdown where the goalie has no business making the saves, and it would never be his fault if it went in, but he's got to make those saves. Those are the ones, the timing of the saves is what makes the difference between the teams that go on or not.
Yeah. Yeah, no doubt. It's not only the big saves, but it's the key saves at critical times in the game. The Panthers, all 6 games of that Washington series, got off the kind of slow starts, where they weren't really playing, weren't able to apply their game, which is pace, which is speed, creating scoring chances. It took them a while to get going, and Sergei Bobrovsky, he made some key saves, and they're going to need that. He knows. Boy, he's in a zone right now. He's in a groove.
Yeah.
Don't talk to him. Don't touch him. Just leave him alone. Let's leave him alone.
Yep.
And let him do his thing. And I love his mentality about it as well, and his temperament, where it's almost like you can't even tell when he's interviewed after a game, whether he won or lost. He just says, hey, I take it one shot at a time, one game at a time. I prepare. This is what I do. And it's very mechanical and that, and I have no problem with that. I just love his preparation and his commitment and his focus on what is at hand at that time. He doesn't get rattled. He really does. When's the last time you see him after a goal come out and start waving his hockey stick and yelling and pointing at the referee and swinging his stick at an opposing? He doesn't do that.
Yeah, I missed Tuukka Rask.
And that's just the mentality and the personality that he has. But boy, he has been really good, really, really good.
Okay, so
how do you explain the slow start in each game? How do you explain that to the fact that we don't get going for 10 minutes, like we're like half asleep?
You know what, Stu? I don't know. And you know what? I always defer back to, like when they interview Andrew Burnett over those, and he said, well, a little tentative, maybe a little nervous. We're just, and that, but that's not the way that they want to start. But whether you got to give the other team credit for a lot of the puck possessions to start the game, and the Panthers have to fight through that. And to see on tomorrow night, the Panthers with this crowd that's going to be going crazy at the start, to feed off that energy, you'd like to see them really get going and get that puck in deep and get cycling and get some scoring chances, rather than fighting for the puck in the neutral zone or playing in your own zone. I think that will be a big focus for the team tomorrow.
Yeah, and I think the familiarity, you know what I'm trying to say. I think being familiar with Tampa is actually going to help a little bit with those starts, because I kind of got the feeling in the first few games that, Washington kind of just came out and they were dictating the pace. And I think, in the beginning of games, we were kind of like, oh, this is how it's going to be. They want to run around hitting everything that moves. Okay, now we'll respond. So I want to talk about, we got a lot of questions about performance. So I'll just kind of wrap it all up into one basic question: performance of certain players. So obviously one question was, do you think Verhaeghe can continue his torrid pace? And then the thing that surprised us all, even though I had been asking for Lomberg, please, I want Lomberg on the ice. Nobody really saw, one guy on the channel actually called it out, but nobody really saw Coach pulling Duclair out of the lineup for Lomberg. And wouldn't you know it, it worked. So what are your feelings and opinions in terms of lineup wise and guys that should be in or out right now? Because like we've got Mammon in for Marchment, and But there's really that one spot there where it's like, do you have Lombard? Do you have Achari? What do you think will happen, or at
Well,
least will
first of
work
all,
best?
I give full marks to Andrew Burnett and the coaching staff. They've done it all season long. They've changed up lines. They've inserted different players into the lineup, and it has worked. They
Yeah.
just kept winning. They just kept winning, and depth and next man up philosophy, and it worked. I give him, that is not easy to do for him to sit out a 30-goal scorer in Anthony Duclair in game number 6.
Yeah.
Although I think everybody was very mature about it. I think Anthony Duclair obviously was disappointed. You want him to be disappointed, but I think he understood as well. And the coaching staff realized that, 5 games, Anthony Duclair only had 1 registered shot on goal. So we all know that he's an explosive player and that, but they need Anthony Duclair to play up to his capabilities. And I'm very confident that he will. He's going to be in the lineup tomorrow. He's got to use that speed, that tenacity, and drive wide with that puck and show and bring the skills that he has.
Right.
And if he does that, I think the team will have no problem with that at all. But that was a smart and maybe a needed move to spark the team in a critical game on the road, and put in Lomberg, and he scored that game tying goal, and it just pushing all the right buttons. I give the coaching staff all kinds of credit for that. But if this team is going to win, they need Anthony Duclair to be the player that he can be. And I am confident he is. I'm a big Anthony Duclair fan. He knows that he's got to get going. He's got to get the feet going. They'll get the legs going and do what he does best,
Right.
which is speed and carrying that puck and driving wide and pulling players out of position on the opposition and that. And I'll leave it at that. But I love the energy of Lomberg as well. This guy, what he brings to the team and that. So I'm just happy the Panthers. I like Mammon too, guys.
You like it, yeah.
He is big. He is
Yep.
strong. He can carry the puck. Can win battles along the boards and that. He's a nice guy to have. He maybe not play every game, but you know what? He
Yep.
can bring it. Same thing with Lombard.
Yep. Stu, do you want to ask the defensive
Yep.
pairing question?
Well, of course, I'm going to get to
Yeah.
the best move that Burnett made after watching our videos a few times was moving Uyghur back with Forsling and moving Sherrod up with Ekblad. I think that's made a hell of a difference, which is the way it should have been, when we got Sherrod, but better late than never. So we really don't have to go on that. The defense has been pretty solid.
Yep.
There's always going to be an occasional, cough up and this and that. But if you look at all the games, whether it be the Edmonton Kings series or the Ranger Pittsburgh series, or even the overtime goal that Verhaeghe scored, it's all off a defensive mistake, flub, cough up, whatever. It only takes a split second for a defensive mistake to go bang, bang in the net. So I want to just ask, just came into thought here. Maybe it's not happening right now, but where do you see Jumbo coming in to play?
Read my mind.
Because I have this vision of grandeur of him coming in, as a late minute replacement or something, and just rising his game, that one last hurrah game where he contributes. And, of course, we want to see the finale of the soap opera with,
Well, he's got to play one game to get his name on.
Yeah, I was
the
just
cup,
going to
too,
ask,
right?
what are your thoughts on Joe? Because it's got to be killing him that he can't play.
Yeah, that's a tough situation. But the way I'll answer that is, and I'm not trying to take the easy way out, but we've already seen it. There's never been a Stanley Cup champion go through the playoffs with 6 defense,
Right.
and 12 forwards and 2 goaltenders. It's never happened. We've already seen it. We've already seen Lomberg come in. We've seen Duclair go out. And that there's going to be injuries. There's going to be inconsistent play and that. So If the Panthers are able to get into the third round and God forbid the fourth round, and that they are going to be using a lot of players. There's going to be injuries, guys. It's a battle out there. Guys are blocking shots with their ankles, with their foot, their whatever. And there's going to be injuries. And that's where those guys are going to be coming in, the Mammons and probably Joe Thornton as well. So didn't get a chance in the first round. Might get a chance, and I'd be very comfortable with him. He's still got the smarts and the hands, and he'll be motivated in that. But it takes an army, guys. I know it's a cliche. You just can't do it with 6 defense, 12 forwards. It just doesn't. You have to have players that are going to come in during times of a long playoff run, second series or the third series or even the fourth series. It's
Right.
going to happen.
Right. So, what I guess I'm trying to wrap up a bunch of different questions that were on the thing that I had the listeners ask, but I guess the biggest thing is, other than the power play, because that's the power play and the PK, what do the Panthers need to do to get a different result out of this? And my personal question is that we pretty much handled Tampa Bay pretty well all season until that last matchup. How much should we take from that last matchup, considering we had clinched and everything else? Should that just be considered a throwaway?
I don't hold much in that. And you know what? The game is so much different now in the playoffs than it is during the regular season. Here's what I'll say. And as I'm preparing for my post-game show tomorrow, and I'm jotting stuff down. 2 things that the Panthers need to establish besides the power play. Okay. Play their game, which is pace, which is speed, and the puck movement from the defense to the forwards at full flight through the neutral zone. They're the best in the league at it. They've shown it all season long. If they're able to continue that, then the defense of the Tampa Bay Lightning are forced to back in over their blue line. They have to back in if you're coming 100 miles an hour with full puck control. Right. That's where the Panthers' majority of their success this year laid. And the second thing is we can start picking it apart with individual players, but one that stands out, they cannot allow Victor Hedman to dictate this series. And that's a tough task. He is a monster back there, and he's going to play 30 minutes a night, and he's big and strong and handles the puck. They've got to try, and they did it a couple of games this year where they succeeded in not allowing him to dominate and really influence the outcome of a game. And if they're able to do that and make him not a dominant player, then they'll have a great chance of winning this series. Does that make sense?
Stay out of the box. I just have one last question, and it's unrelated to the Panthers series. Obviously, we had some exciting game 7s last night. Calgary beating Dallas, and the Rangers coming through beating Pittsburgh. What do you think about the other the series out west?
I'm excited about the Battle of Alberta. It's been 31 years, between the Oilers and the Flames. That province is going to go absolutely cuckoo, and that's going to be a war. I'm looking forward to the Rangers in Carolina. That is going to be a very fast-paced, lot of offense. It's going to come down to probably goaltending in that series. So I'm really excited about all 4 of these series, Stu. I think Colorado is still the cream of the crop out west. Right. Nobody's proven that they can beat them on a consistent level. They are so solid and deep, and they score, and they just do it all. The only question is maybe their goaltending isn't world class like what we're going to see with Bobrovsky and Vasilevsky. But I like Colorado in that series. I think Calgary is going to win that series against Edmonton. I like Carolina to win against the Rangers. Even though,
Right.
you know, former Ranger, but I think Carolina has a great opportunity to move on. I think they got scared a little bit in that Boston series, and I think that they're going to rectify their game. And that, so yeah, those are, it's going to be a lot of fun. It's got to be a lot of fun. I love the series, how they're matched up, and of course our series against the Lightning is going to be thrilling.
Yep. All right. So last thing here. Just one of my own little. I'm a huge Hall & Oates fan, and whenever we play Toronto, I have to pretend that I don't like the goal song. So I'm curious for you, being obviously a huge Panther fan at this point. Has any other team's goal song ruined it for you? Like when you hear it in the airport, you hear it on radio, you have to shut it off, and it's a song you used to love but can't anymore.
Well, funny story about that. When the old Hartford Whalers, whenever they score, they used to dan. Well, one year we played them in the playoffs, and we were first in the Adams, and they were fourth. We were 45 points ahead of them. We lost. It was a best of 5, I think, back then. Best of 5, and we lost. And the last game we lost was in Hartford, and we lost like 8-2 or something. And the played it 8 times or whatever in the series clinching game, and that stuck with me for years and years and years. I was never so happy to see Hartford move to Carolina, because then I didn't have to hear that song anymore.
That's great.
Yeah.
All right, Randy. Well,
people ask me about the Panthers song. You know, Jimmy Eat World. After they score a goal, I never hear it.
Yeah.
People ask me, Randy, what do you think about the post goal song that the Panthers play? I didn't even know who it was, because I don't hear it. We can't hear it.
You can't hear
and that, and the crowd and everything like that. And then I got to start talking to describe the goal. I never hear the song.
Yeah.
So,
yeah, that's fun.
You know, I think it's okay. I like Jimmy Eat World. So, and that.
Yeah.
Hey guys, thanks for having me on again.
All right,
hockey.
Randy.
We'll see what happens here in this series, and I'm really confident. I think the Panthers, they learned from last year. I think the Panthers have added the right pieces to take them to the next level.
Right.
Bob is in the right spot right now. Nobody touch him. Nobody talk to him.
Right.
And just leave him in his zone. I'm really confident, and I know the Panthers are confident as well. And thanks to all the fans for always tuning in, and your guys' great show, and keep all those positive thoughts.
Yep.
And let's go.
All right, Randy, we really appreciate it. And hopefully we'll see you for the round 3 preview.
You got it.
Yep.